almost a near perfect in-out ratio, and that's something that when you take a deck off the internet, I insist you go on Twitter. If they play a mono red deck from you or an Esper deck from me, ask me, what do you board this in? What kind of cards do I take out? Because it's not one of those where it's just easy, I'll figure it out.
Right. So again, players with access to deck lists here, they're going to be double checking here. Ant versus Reanimator, two very powerful, very explosive, typically, capital L legacy decks.
Mm-hmm. This is what you think of when you think of legacy. A lot of players are hesitant to get into the format because of decks like this, and they get frustrated. But I try to explain to those players, there's a reason why Ant isn't winning every tournament is because they are bound by the rules of Magic like everyone else. They're playing a high-risk deck that can be hated out by cards like Arcane Laboratory, Aether-Storm Canonist, Surgical Extractions, and Hand Disruption. So it's not a deck that's just going to steamroll everybody and kill everyone turn one.
Yeah. But this is not a match for your Mother of Runes and Neither Relic players.
No,
That's not what's going on here.
Or yeah, Mother of Runes is probably makes Jake super happy when he sees that in play. The same thing with Dustin, I'm sure, too. So these are the decks that you leave your Mother of Runes at home here. If you were on the other bracket, however, against the Goblin deck, Mother of Runes is quite the looker against that deck.
Good against Jund, too.
Yeah, pretty good against Jund, too. Yep. All right, let's see if we have some sevens we're keeping. Dustin, first open success for him. We had a little chat. Proud of him, young guy. Always like seeing these guys that are just getting into the game achieve success early on.
So first turn Underground C for Dustin.
Then again, everyone's young for us because Pat and I are old, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some deck lists out of the way. Can't be looking at that every few seconds. That is against the rules. And here comes the Thoughtseize.
Yep.
This is the card that can make or break the matchup.
So we're looking at a hand of appears to be Gitaxian Probe, Dark Ritual, Ponder, Infernal Tuner, Underground Sea, Past in Flames, Duress. So both players armed with a little bit of disruption.
Do you take the Ponder here since he has a one-land hand?
Well,
or do you take the Duress? I guess it depends on Dustin's hand. Absolutely, never mind.
Yeah, it's totally predicated on...
Because if he has Entomb, Reanimate, we take Duress here and we crush. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
If I'm Jake, when I see a hand like this, I would be pretty nervous to keep it. However, he does have the probe and on the draw, so there's multiple chances to at least draw either Ponder or Brainstorm or ways to get out of the situation.
I think it would be really hard for me to throw away land, like dual land, Duress, Gitaxian Probe, and a reasonable combo hand.
I'm not mulliganing this hand. I just always get a little anxious. It's kind of like when you draw that, when you keep that hand on the draw against when you're playing M14 limited and you have 2 land and then 3 mana spells, you get a little anxious. I'm a little anxious with my 1 land. I hope we can probe and hit a 2nd land here and continue to play the game. He takes Infernal Tutor, so that means instead of strengthening his combo or stopping him from getting mana, he's going the route of, I'm going to stop your combo.
So we're going to see an alternate cast Gitaxian Probe that shows the contents of Dustin's hand here. He has Reanimate, Grizzlebrand, Ponder, Show and Tell, and Marsh Flats. So a hand that, if there's an Entomb on top of his deck, can win the game on the 2nd turn. Otherwise, he's currently on a path here to Show and Tell.
Yeah, I mean he's got a few different ways, or he draws a Thoughtseize, he can win here too. Not win, excuse me. Reanimate his own Grizzlebrand.
Keep in mind, Jake has his own Duress that we know about. So.
Right. What do you think he takes here? I don't think you can take the Reanimate. I think you have to take Show and Tell here, right?
Oh, he's going to go ahead and Ponder.
All right, so he is taking a little risky business here. Yep. But then again, he does have 1 land, and he might be afraid that Dustin might have another. Did he have another Thoughtseize in his hand? I didn't see it. Okay,
but in Jake's position, you're basically only looking at Entomb being the disastrous draw next turn. Otherwise, Dustin's on a 3rd turn kill at the very earliest, so you might be able to just ignore that Duress and try to kill on the 2nd turn yourself.
Right, and ignore the Grizzlebrand also. Because it takes a full turn to get any advantage out of it. He can hit a Force of Will over it, but like I said, that's not exactly the safest card because Jake will only need 5 spells with the Tendrils to kill you.
It appears that...
I don't see what he drew. I
believe it was a land.
So here comes Ponder. So Jake's got plenty of time. Another spicy card for Dustin would be actually drawing the Iona itself. That'd be a pretty decent draw. Then he could Show and Tell into play.
So Dustin now looking for a piece that either allows him to combo out next turn, although he already has show and tell in the third lane already. He's, I think, ideally looking for either another piece of discard or force of will to prevent.
Yeah, and it looks like he kept careful study, so he's gonna, and that's not too bad of a keep too, because he's gonna be able to dig pretty deep here, and ponder. I think I would like to actually put it in the graveyard and do it this way, because not only does it turn on reanimate, but you also get to dig just as deep as you would have if you got to shuffle with ponder. So let's see here. We're going to draw 2 cards, 2 brand new cards, because he gets to shuffle here. I definitely like keeping the careful study on top, and this could yield him force of will, could yield him daze,
could yield pedal reanimate.
Pedal re-up. That's a good one too. I see another show and tell, I think. I can't see from over here.
Yeah, it's possible Dustin's gloves are just down. Jake might be able to go for it on the second turn here.
Yeah, and you know the funny thing is he might have to though, because he knows. But then again, he actually has a full another turn though, because the show and tell now, he kept the show and tell, discarded Grizzlebrand, so that means even if he does Grizzlebrand next turn, Jake has a whole other turn before it's actually a disaster for him.
So he's looking at what appears to be reanimate, show and tell, and 2 lands. The coast is clear.
Did he discard 2 Grizzlebrand?
No, it was land Grizzlebrand he discarded.
Oh man, he knew he had the duress. I think you can't discard Grizzlebrand there. I think you can't even careful study there. I think it's just untaps, because if he duresses you, he can't take anything, because you could just careful study on your turn and reanimate on your turn, or show and tell on your turn. I think there's a grave error there. Dustin now is going to rely on the top of his deck, and that's a land. So now Jake's got all the time in the world.
Yeah, and his hand is loaded. It is nothing but rituals, a lion's eye diamond. He has the Past in Flames, which is a little
And he's just
awkward.
going to do it now because he knows that Dustin is on nothing. Yeah, this is going to be probably the ball game here. Full of rituals.
5 black in the pool, a lion's eye diamond.
Then again, to be fair, if even Dustin got Grizzlebrand out right here, I don't know exactly how great it would be. He would have to pay 7. Hope he gets a force of will for this Infernal Tutor. But hey, if he does, the game's over.
So yeah, Jake's in great shape here. He can go get ad nauseum.
Jake looks like he is rolling. He knows what he's doing here.
He has not made a land drop yet. He still will have mana in his mana pool. He has a Past in Flames in the graveyard ready to go, so he doesn't have to worry about ad nauseum.
Oh, and he's got all the rituals again too. This is going to be lethal here.
It's very likely to be lethal.
Yeah. Jake has.
He might be able to just go do this manual style. He might be able to go get Cabal Ritual and just kill out of the graveyard with the mana that, presumably the red mana that he has floating from Lion's Eye Diamond.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So he says he has actually 6 mana with a storm count of 5. So we need a storm count of 8 to be lethal, which is auto with Past in Flames here. So yeah, he can just get tendrils and kill him. Because he's going to use the red floating, flashback Past in Flames, ritual. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 more spells. That'll be a 18 damage.
Yeah, it's safer to go get the Cabal Ritual because he has an Infernal Tutor in the graveyard.
So it's safer
he can
too.
Add all this mana, then Past in Flames, Ritual again, generate enough mana where he can then flash back Infernal Tutor with no cards in hand, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, Storm takes an early game. Dustin, 1 duress, but not able to assemble a fast reanimator show and tell.
Right.
And Jake was able to fire off his own duress to break up what Dustin was up to, and then combo out pretty easily there.
Right. I think taking the Infernal Tutor wasn't a horrible thought seize on turn 1, but it seems like Jake has so much ponder shuffling ability that you really need to protect your combo, maybe even a little bit more than disrupting theirs, at least game 1, right?
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, that play looked totally fine until the first draw step that Jake had was another Infernal Tutor, and then
right,
everything.
Yeah. Everything fell apart.
Yeah.
There.
So back to the booth. Patrick Sullivan, Shaheen Sarani. We're in the semifinals of our Legacy Open here in Minneapolis, and we have a trivia question for you, which, if you answer correctly, will you had to tweet it at SCG Live, hashtag SCG Premium, and we select one person at random. There is 1 red spell in Jake's Ad Nauseam Tendrils deck. It is a Yawgmoth's Will homage. We saw it used in the first game to combo out. Name that card. Again, tweet that answer to at SCG Live, hashtag SCG Premium, and after the match we will draw 1 person for 6 months, a half year, of SCG Premium.
Yep, and make sure that's main deck, because it does have another one in the board here.
Yes.
A secret one.
Yeah, but there's enough clues there where anyone who fails to answer the question correctly, I feel the blame does not lie with me.
Right.
I'll put it in the simplest terms I can. So onto our sideboard here, we have we've talked about this. We have a couple more discard spells, an extra duress in our storm sideboard. We have two copies of Chain of Vapor and a Caracas. Caracas was, it's obviously been a part of Legacy and Maverick and Esper Blade decks for a while.
Right.
The Reanimator deck that got played at, I believe, Grand Prix Denver by a lot of the pros that showed up to that tournament was sort of the first time that you saw, in my opinion at least, you saw Caracas as part of a conversion sideboard and some combo decks where their Reanimator decks were bringing in Jace the Mind Sculptor and Caracas.
Multiple Caracas too,
yes.
One in the main, one in the board, because there's just so much Reanimator around. Yeah, that's a phenomenon that kind of died off, but it looks like that Jake has the same idea.
Yeah, and one Caracas is kind of a freebie, obviously. It's just a land, and the upside in these matchups is just huge. And this is a great example of a sideboard slot that I really like a lot. We were discussing these combo decks that have all these sideboard slots dedicated to what appear to be specific matchups. I see show and tell sneak attack decks all the time that look, they have 7 or 8, Flusterstorm, Misdirection, extras. Right. You can't possibly bring all these cards in. One Caracas is basically a freebie. He can actually cut a land to bring in if he wants to.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. And also,
the upside, if he draws it in this matchup, is enormous. It's actually quite challenging for Dustin to win the game if Jake is able to draw his Caracas.
Yeah, I'm almost beyond the point of saying challenging. Looking at his sideboard, he has actual no answer